Welcome back to the Two Pointers podcast. I'm Trevor Everett, and despite what the title and the thing on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, says, this is not exactly instant, as you can see by the daylight between both of our video feeds here. Instant about 18 to 20 something hours later. But I've noticed I think we kind of absorb things better like that. Obviously, you take more time to really think about what happened. Unfortunately, not really a lot to think about. I think this game went about. Once the fourth quarter hit, obviously it had some roller coaster, had some up and downs. Third quarter, Indiana did what they're going to do. However, voodoo only works and will win if it happens in the fourth quarter. You have to do that in the fourth quarter, not the third quarter. So we're going to break that down, talk about it, and let's say 45 minutes. Really quick, as people will see on the screen, we're going to scroll it around as well. Pascal led Indiana in scoring with 28. I've been really bad about not doing this and just kind of like a holistic 10,000 foot view kind of talking about this. J-Dub obviously had the big 40-point performance, and that's where I'll open it up with you. Just thoughts, reactions, emotions, etc. from a 40-point second scoring option game.
Yeah. Second most points in Thunder history in a finals game. Russell Westbrook back in 2011, 2012. Had, I believe, 43 in game 4 of the NBA Finals in a loss. Also as a second option, even though thankfully in this case the first option played like a first option and the Thunder won said finals game.
Does that count Sonic's history? Because they're one of those franchises that does include both. That's what I thought.
Now, if it doesn't, take that up with StatMuse, not me. But
Nice.
I'm also not one of those people that says 79 counts. So I want to distance myself from that small, absurd portion of the fan base. But yeah, J-Dub again asserted himself as if he needed to as a top 15 player in the NBA, all NBA caliber player. That's a regular season thing, but it sure helps when you reinforce every single person that voted you for that award or honor in this case. And you drop 40 in a finals game. That's something Shea has not done. He's had 38. He's had 34. He's flirted with it. He's averaging 30 plus points in the finals where he usually hangs out between, 28 and 35 ish. It feels like 80% of his regular season games were in that range. But again, Jen Williams, indispensable piece, cornerstone of this franchise. There's a section of the online fan base that ever since the Dallas series last year has continued to discredit him at every turn. Those chances are running very thin here. You really can't ask for anything else. He had 20 points about 4 minutes into the third quarter and then just continued. And just especially early, the movement without the ball, the cuts he was making to make himself available for the high percentage layups, the putbacks, the things in and around the rim, where he's not a big, but he, as a wing, is very, very good at being in there and being physical and using the glass when he needs to. And some high arcing shots in the lane that if you had not shown me who was shooting it, I would have said just on the shot arc, that was probably Shea. So surely some of the point guard rubbing off on him there with some of those finishes at the rim. Just an incredible performance. Biggest game of the franchise history since, 2 days before that. It's kind of how these finals go. Every game was the most important one. First finals closeout game in franchise history coming up Thursday. So again, most important game in franchise history.
No, you brought that up before. It's like maybe it was offline, but you've brought it up, and it never really hit me until they were up really late, and I was like, okay, they're like legit one win away, like Captain Obvious here, but
yeah,
it was like a real like, okay, this is the second youngest team to ever play in the finals. Which pop quiz? Do you know who the other team was? They showed it, but I do know that you don't know, at least from the broadcast, because you told me when you caught up, and so. They played it. They played it before. I know for a fact you caught up at some point. Commercials. I did see this because I didn't skip it. Do you happen to? But you want to take a guess? Actually, second. I don't know if I could ever compete in the finals.
I don't know if I could even pin the decade. It's got to be one of those one-off teams. I feel like that, not like a Spurs or a Lakers or a Celtics.
That's a great. I would go that direction. Yes.
couldn't have been Detroit in 04.
They would argue be the old. They would be the
Right,
oldest.
they're the opposite end of that spectrum. Those Dallas teams, I doubt it.
This is
Thinking
pre-Larry and
back
Magic
further.
for what it's worth.
Oh wow, jeez. One of the Rockets teams. It's a shot in the dark.
Blazers in 77, Bill Walton.
See, and I had seen that in the run up just because of people had framed this as the Thunder's West to lose and what that lead up would look like. And obviously, with unfortunately losing Bill Walton, that also came to the forefront a good bit. Yeah, I mean, they're a game away. They had exceeded the closest the franchise had ever gotten 2 wins or a win before this game. With that second win, they tied it at 2-2. You're thinking, oh, well, man, now it's a best of 3. You never would have thought this was going 6, maybe 7. It's like, as a franchise, they've never, ever had a second finals win. And they never had a third finals win. And now they've got a chance in Indy, and if they need it, a chance in Oklahoma City to get that fourth and final win that would capture the first title in franchise history. And if you want to do the Sonics thing, the first title in a very, very long time. It's still surreal. Classic Thunder basketball. Casey Wallace, 0 threes coming into the game, hit 2 or 3 early. Aaron Wiggins did his saving basketball thing.
I had it down as well. He had Aaron Wiggins
just,
himself had more threes in the first half than the team combined in the entire game for.
I mean, if you had told me a team shot 14 of 32 in this game, I love the Thunder. I wouldn't have said them. Just incredible, the bounce back from the prior game, which they also won shooting like close your eyes, don't watch from 3. To one shooting more than the Pacers, which you don't probably draw it up like that. With Shea's presence at the rim, having Chet, having Hartenstein, having J-Dub driving constantly. Just all kinds of contributions from all kinds of places that people casually watching would not expect. But Thunder fans, we've been here before and haven't already every season. Even have a big, huge night offensively from Caruso. Didn't end up needing it. Shea and J-Dub combining for north of 70. Shea with 4 blocks puts him in historic company there. Chet had 3 himself. The team had 12, which has got to be pretty high up on lists historically for a single finals game. I mean, that's 1 every 4 minutes. That is a massive presence in and around the rim for a team in Indy that, unfortunately, with a beat-up Halliburton, was still aggressively pursuing those drives, Nembhard especially. Siakam obviously going to be down there. I don't know what Miles Turner's stats was. That's kind of my point with that. Like, again, would he be qualified to be a Pacers lifer? Absolutely. He's earned it. But some of that luster has fallen off here as the series progresses. And he's, he and Hartenstein both have kind of taken a back seat as far as production and expectations. And, neither one has been invisible. Hartenstein with 4 assists. It's no accident that Hartenstein has had 4, 4, and 3 assists in Thunder wins this series and 0 in both of the losses. Just speaks to some of the not passing ISO stuff that the Thunder default into at times as a young team. Regardless of what Mark screams at them, he can't pass the ball for them. So did not have much of that tonight. Thunder actually got out-rebounded and outscored in the paint. Very weird offensive rebound game, 37 total. Indy had 1 more. Just lots of long rebounds off the threes. The team's about shot 60-70 threes total, which, that's just the direction the game's going. So just very, very impressive win down the stretch. The lead did not shrink below double digits the last half of the fourth quarter, which is what should have, could have, would have happened in game 1 when Oklahoma City was in this position. But this time, shut the door, slammed the door. TJ McConnell tried to single-handedly bring this Pacers team back from the brink in the third quarter. He played excellent. He had 15 of his 17, something insane like that. Did everything he could. Offensively, was out there getting and ones, putting his body on the line. Wouldn't expect anything less from him. And he's been a catalyst all season and all playoffs of this team and coming back from the dead. And he just wasn't able to have anybody else come behind him and help him lead that charge. So, comeback attempt came up short. They had it down to 2 in the fourth. 43 seconds later, off a J-Dub 3 and a Casey Wallace steal and put back, it was 7, just like that. And I think from that point, I don't think the lead shrunk below 3 possessions from there. Thunder, again, like I said, shut the door. Unlike game one, Indy owned the fourth quarter in game three. I'll give them all the credit in the world for that. Thunder did have a lead up 5, I believe, going into that fourth quarter. But I mean, this is the kind of game script and flow that I think everyone expected in most games in this series, especially the ones in Oklahoma City. Thunder now 2-1 at home in the series. That's more what you expect, and I'm really, really hoping they don't get a chance to add to that, because I'm hoping they close this thing out in 6. We have ourselves set a record. This will tie us for most podcasts done in the finals, and thankfully we'll get 1 or 2 more. I still regret asking for more than 5 games, but we will at least get in game 6 on Thursday night.
I want to key on a couple of things. I'm going to save the any Shea conversation for the end. I have an exercise I want to go through. Shocker. Trevor wants to do NBA history with current guys. But I think it's actually going to be the best thing we do this series. J-Dub, want to key on the obvious, the 40. And I think it ties in all of the stuff that I think immediately you mentioned, this game script and just how we thought these games would go. I can tell you, like, NBA games obviously are about as unpredictable as any sport right now. You watch a game and you're like, all right, well, I'm turning this one off, and you go, oh, they won by how much? Or that team blew a what kind of lead? And I think it gets exaggerated, but like Boston is a famous example, right? They'll go up 20 and then come down 20, all kinds of stuff. I wrote down the first 2 plays immediately. It was the first thing I caught. Now, granted, when you're behind by a quarter, hand up, that's on me for getting back late. When you're behind a quarter and you catch up, you spend a little more time knowing that you have time to fast forward. You spend a little more time on like the more minute stuff, and I actually think it helped me absorb this game better. They immediately set the tone early. Dort had the hustle play and caused a Neesmith foul on a ball that was going out of bounds. Dort might be all NBA first team of guys that know how to make those out of bounds, like bang, bang plays go his way every single time. And obviously that was the first play of the game. I think it got in Neesmith's head immediately. That's not a guy that gets into his head much. Neesmith knows kind of how to handle those situations, but it immediately set the tone physically. I think that was the big takeaway there. And then Hartenstein had a dunk on the first offensive possession after they stopped him on the first possession. So it was immediately like, okay, like this game's probably going to play out exactly like I think it's going to, and it probably should. And then the Pacers get back to within I think it was 6 or 7. I think you said it. Like it got to an uncomfortable number at one point, right? Like a 5.
Very uncomfortable. It was
I wish I
for just inside a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so what? So in the third quarter they got it down to 2.
Maybe not the third.
The third was when
6 or 7. Yeah.
It got low, and like once you guys could control the fourth quarter, that obviously I think that's when I'd have to look up when the lowest lead was. You may have said it, but the point is it went exactly like I thought it was going to. Even the fact that I wrote down another play in the first quarter. There was a Hartenstein hard foul by McConnell about 5-ish minutes in the first quarter left, and instead of doing what he did before with the push or with the the guy that pushed him, Obi, all that, he kind of got up, he dapped McConnell up, and he walked away. I think they knew they were in control of the game, and I think he handled it 100% as best as he possibly could have. I have a couple of things on Hartenstein today, but just in general, it opened up immediately with the physicality, the way they wanted to play, and then to tie it all together and kind of land the plane and keep moving the conversation. Jalen doesn't score 40 if he's not aggressive going to the rim, and I think that early start by the team and kind of the way everything was elevated by that point, it gives a guy like that freedom to know that he can attack the basket, gets Indiana on their heels. And I think that's a huge reason he had 40 was the fact that he felt confident going to the rim.
Yeah, it started early, defense to offense from him. Indy had 23 turnovers. Thunder had 32 off of the 23. Game one, of course, they forced 25 and only got 11 off of them. So just that difference alone, you can see why the scores look so different. But Jalen was huge in that. Dort was huge in that. Shea at the rim, of all people. Chet at the rim doing his thing with the 3 blocks, like I mentioned before. And that was Thunder basketball. That was we're going to start Hartenstein, we're going to start Chet, we're going to do Thunder basketball because we don't think you're going to do it better than us, not in this building. And I don't know what they could do with technology to make more noise get picked up on the microphones, but that building was on the verge of coming down.
Andrew,
They had a
is it Sheet? I
select.
don't
Yeah.
Schlecht. Yeah, and I was in the ballpark. That's all that matters. He's incredible. He does a lot of great work. I think he's on some kind of beat, and he said it was the loudest
Yeah.
building he's ever been a part of. Not in Thunder history, but period.
Sure. I mean, in these two arenas, we said it a couple of podcasts ago, are the gold standard of crowds and noise and just the building moving and reacting to a game. And it's tens of thousands of diehard fans all crammed into an environment that there's no too loud. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, hostile would be the best word I would use.
Very hostile.
For
Absolutely.
for the NBA's sake, like college hostile feels a little
Right,
bit
because
more.
people think NBA, they think
No.
of heat games when it takes a quarter and a half for half the people to show up and things like that. But
The bathroom break at the fourth quarter that you really notice. It's really
or if
crazy.
they're down 6, you just leave.
Yeah.
So
Not that
things like that.
there's never better things to do in Miami, like at any point.
I
ever.
can't think of one.
Yeah.
But yeah, these two cities don't have that issue. These two teams don't have that issue. These two fan bases, there's nowhere they're going once they check in and walk through the gates. They're not going anywhere. And with this Pacers team, regardless of what the final score ended up being, you can't leave these games early. I mean, the lasting image of that in the finals is those Heat fans leaving and trying to come back in when Ray Allen hit the shot in Game 6.
Great parallel. That's great.
There will be none of that in this series. Now, hopefully, there is no corner 3 to force a Game 7 on Thursday, because I will be very, very sad.
You're lining up all the parallels for yourself. This is great. I love this.
Game 1 was bad enough. Let's put it like that. You can go back and look at my demeanor now compared to after that, which was live, sadly. I don't want to do that again. So the Halliburton thing, the Stephen A comment, looking up from his solitaire game to say, I'm glad he's hurt. Obviously, me and you know the context behind that. Just such a lazy way to lay it out. Like, he's not starved for airtime. He had plenty of time to be like, I'm glad that we at least have an explanation for it. He's not himself. That was clear. It was evident exactly where he was having issues with the calf. They're doing an MRI. I think he's going to play. It would take, I think, a serious ailment or doctors literally not letting him play for him not to be out there.
It would have to be a full-blown tear, which I don't think we all agree based on the way it's reported is not where it's headed, I think.
No. I think we're going to see him out there. Now, I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to get Tyrese Halliburton to the fullest extent of his abilities.
Yeah.
As a distributor, surely as a scorer, as we saw last game, he was very impacted by that and was trying to get other people going while he knew his presence offensively wouldn't quite be there in the same way. Again, not that he's the go-to points guy. They don't need 30 or 40 from him to win a game. They haven't needed it all playoffs. When they get it, it's great, but he does so much more with everybody else that's how they beat you. They attack you from all sides, all places on the court. It can be anybody. Yeah. Similar to OKC, and we've seen the benches trade body blows this series. I think I've got it written down in the third quarter. Bench points 20-0 Pacers. Now, a lot of that was McConnell. But the 0 from OKC is startling. As good as that bench has been, and Caruso with 2 20-point games with his name off the bench, and just the 5 data points we have so far. Those are the ingredients the Pacers have been using all year to get these games flipped. The games they should have lost, the game ones against the Knicks, against the Thunder, several games against the Bucks and Cavs. It's just one of those things. That's how they get you. There's the quick quarters, the guy off the bench you can't miss, whether it's Toppin or it's Nesmith or it's McConnell of all people. That was the most, I think, firm just denial of here we go with the Pacers again. And the Thunder absolutely slammed the door shut. I mentioned the entire back half of the fourth quarter after a Shea and one, I believe, with 6 and change on the clock, pushed it from 8 to 11 and it never got below 10 the rest of the way. Wasn't a ton of scoring after that at all. It's defense on both sides, and Indy turned it over just inside the shot clock, and that was the end of it. But yeah, Oklahoma City won the first quarter, won the second quarter, and most importantly of all, won the fourth quarter. And McConnell had his moment, and it gave him the quarter, but it didn't give him the game this time around. And here we are with Oklahoma City taking their first lead of the entire series in Game 5. Wow. I don't care who you ask. I don't think anybody else had that on their card going into the series. So very, very weird, because that didn't dawn on me until this morning, just going back and looking at some things and some initial reactions of, well, they were down 1-0 and 2-1. This is their first lead in the entire series.
And it's got to be, I mean, like, you'd rather be in that position than not. Like, you'd rather be, okay, like, we'd rather be in the lead now. I think that was kind of how it was covered slightly last night, too, was like, okay, well, this is like the best position to be in. I can't remember who said it, but obviously knocking on the doorstep. A couple things on J-Dub I forgot to mention. This is not perfect statistics here, but it is the 23rd unique person to score 40 or more in a finals game. I can't filter it for whatever reason to show me only guys have done it at least once, or just like guys just get rid of all the dupes. Of course, you have your LJ Baylor's on there a bunch, Jordan's on there a bunch, Jerry West is on there a bunch. He's tied for 50th. If that gives you an idea, 50 times that 40 has happened in a finals game, and he's 9th highest active player all time of active guys. LeBron, Giannis, Steph, KD, Russ. You mentioned the 43 is on there. June 19th, 2012. Devin Booker had 42 in that finals. I kind of forgot about that.
Middleton too.
Jokic had 41. Yep. Middleton's right there below him, below him on the 40 thing. Kyrie's ahead of him, and that's it. So just some interesting stuff there to think about. The fact that 40, you kind of set the number at, okay, it seems like a lot. And then you go, oh my God, like 50 people have done that. Like, it's crazy to think like what this league really is capable. And a lot of these guys, there's more old guys than there is current guys. Like, it's wild to think that. Couple things. I think we admit all the time. I think we're very good about admitting the coaching, the way we address coaching and the way we address adjustments. I think we're very clear on, I am not Rick Carlisle, and I do not intend and strive to be Rick Carlisle. I feel awesome on the flip side when I feel vindicated when he does a decision that I think is the correct decision. And I said it before it happened. I go, yeah, this is the case. Again, not victory lapping. Bryant's unplayable. Like, they went to Tony Bradley, who hadn't played since at a pre-Memorial Day. And so as soon as that check in at 450 happened, the eyebrows went up. I was like, okay, they clearly don't think Bryant's playable. Like, that was like, and it played out exactly like you thought it would with Bradley. He was in there, he had a dumb push foul, or not, like, cleared the way for J-Dub, and Hartenstein didn't need to clear him out of the way. A simple, hey, get in your way kind of bang bang play would have been fine. Not a shove back play on the free throw line. No. It was a crazy fast break. I'm like, what are we doing? But I really I want to talk about Hartenstein for a second. He's been obviously the $30 million man, biggest free agent ever, whatever, throw all that at me. But I really just like how simple it is when he's in the lineup, even though the two big lineup at one point was played out of the series and now it's somehow back. And it hasn't been perfect. It wasn't perfect in game 5 by any stretch of the imagination. But that early start allowed Chet to be, even though Chet, I mentioned before, like giraffe on ice skates kind of thing, like, there are moments where I'm like, okay, you need to be more aggressive. And he was 100% more aggressive. But I really like that Hartenstein doesn't look for, I'm going to say his name 4 different ways by the time we're done with the spot tonight. He doesn't look for his shot first. And I think that really is what makes that two big lineup so successful, is that he's always looking to make a pass first. Even when they throw like a really deep, almost like a deep ball, like a straight streak, he's still going to grab it and recover it. And there's not a lot of big guys that have kind of footwork to be able to catch that ball deep on the left block, thrown 45 feet across the court, catch it, and be like, okay, I saved the ball. Now where am I looking? He's immediately looking to pass to some guy running on a cut. I think that's just good awareness, and that's something that, although he's not going to jump off the stat, I don't have the exact box score in front of me, although his game isn't going to jump off the page to you. I have it now. He obviously played only 20 minutes. Made 2 shots, made 2 free throws. He missed 2 of them, but he had 6 offensive rebounds out of his 8 total of them, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, like, just constantly. He was a -1, which is crazy, but he was just constantly, every time he was on the floor, I'm like, they're going to be fine. And at one point they were in time about the third quarter earlier. He really kind of, I think, helped them kind of right the ship a little bit, because they were kind of calling out once Caruso checked in the third quarter. The broadcast did a really good job of being like, they haven't scored in 2.5 minutes, and Shea's been on the bench, and that was that bench differential you talked about. And so I thought at least his presence, his calming presence, too, being able to generate extra opportunities, I think is really important. And obviously, I don't think you won the game without him, despite his stat line not exactly jumping off the page. 6 offensive rebounds is going to do that for you. Chet had 5 of them his own. Dort had 5 that I had no idea about until right this moment. Like, you're going to have guys that are going to do that. But Isaiah, no matter what was happening, I knew what he was doing on the floor at all times was going to benefit the team. So I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, it was the easiest identifiable need from this team last year compared to this year. And they went out, spent the money, which for a big market team, $30 million. I mean, that's, nobody blinks at that. But for Oklahoma City and bringing in a guy of that caliber, you may think that's tongue in cheek. It's really not. Other than if you count the midnight signing of Paul George, that is the biggest free agent they've ever signed. That has not been how they built the team. It's not by choice. Oklahoma City is not, a star-studded place to live. And it's growing, it's developing like any other market is, but it's not LA, it's not Miami, it's not New York, it's not Boston. You get on the list. And so they've really relied on the Presti model of building through the draft and trades and, acquiring guys that may not initially choose to be there, but then that develops into guys like Kenrich Williams wanting to stay for life. And so I think that part of the culture and the team being so young and wanting to stick together, and hopefully the salary cap minutia will allow that. I think it's been huge, and Hartenstein's a big example of taking that risk, going to get the guy. And obviously intended with that is the Caruso trade, giving up a lottery pick in his process and Giddey, a number 6 overall pick, that many people think that Presti got right. But we needed things that Giddey couldn't provide to us, and the things he could give us, we were able to produce without him. And so it made a lot of sense. And what Caruso has brought has arguably won at least one finals game in this series. I'd say game 4 easier to call than game 2, but it's been immeasurable. And, it may not jump off the stat sheet like you alluded to, but just his presence and being there and having the lob guy and having the guy to clean up the dirty work on the glass, offensive and defensive, not having the Randall ball stopping kind of big that he gets the ball. Okay, it's going to be at least 9 seconds before anything happens. He's always scanning, always looking. We've got guys on the wings. We've got guys like J-Dub cutting without the ball, always available. And that deference is, I think, a big part of the offense. And again, why when he has a couple assists, 3 or 4, it's just a sign that the ball is moving. And that's, that brand of basketball is what got Oklahoma City here on, the precipice of a title.
So I'm going to do the thing we do every time because I want to leave room for the Shea stuff really quick. Like, we haven't talked about the team on the other end, and obviously that's important to know that the history is written by the victor. We know that. Look, couple things to lay out. Indiana shot 36% from 3, 11 of 30. Their best scorer had 28.
Mm-hmm.
And they got multiple double-digit scores off the bench, including 18 from TJ McConnell. What on earth do they have to do other than being at home in game 6 to be able to win this game? Because we know that they can do it. And I clearly still can't explain to this day how they won not game 1. Game 1's obviously like just what was its own island there. Whatever game they won, game 3, game 4, whatever game that they won at this point. I don't mean for it to be satire or a dig in any way, but like Benedict Mathurin, 2 for 11, say that improves. That's immediately a spot to point to. Obi Toppin was 1 of 5 from 3. I'm not sure you want to hinge your potential series tying efforts on those two guys. It's an open-ended conversation I want to have really quick, but I just laid out the 3 things that were really good in this game that have won them many playoff games to this point, other than the voodoo and the 3 and the buzzer beaters. I'm at a loss for what I think they can do, but obviously that doubts Rick Carlisle, and they're clearly closer to a finals than they've ever been for a reason. So, any thoughts? Is more of an open-ended kind of land the plane on just kind of seeing where we go with this. But I don't know, the 36%, the McConnell, the Siakam thing, those 3 things were pretty much elite. I don't know what gets better.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get 30 from McConnell and Toppin combined, I don't know if there's much else you're going to get from that. And obviously McConnell's not there to score, and Halliburton's not necessarily the primary scorer either, but 4 points from him, you would like to think, has got to come up if they're going to, surge back into a win like they did in game 1, or just take over a fourth quarter like they did in game 3. It's going to take some combination of that. Obviously, the recipe for game one is a lot harder to replicate and have play out, regardless of whether it's in OKC or it's going to be at home in Indy here Thursday night. But I just think that we've kind of seen how they won the games in this series and what it took to do that. They were outplayed for almost an entire game and for most of 3/4 of a game and came out on top in both of those. So I don't know that there's a recipe for the wire to wire type deal, similar to what OKC cooked up in game 5, where it was really a case of Indy clawing back to 6 or 7 or making a big run to get it to 2. And then, less than a minute of game clock later, it's back to 3 possessions. Halliburton's going to have to dig deep and find something to get him on the court. I don't know what they're going to shoot him up with to have him to play. Hopefully it's not something that keeps him off the court, because if Halliburton misses game 6, I don't see a path forward. And that's not because they're going to miss his points. They were in this game in the fourth quarter and he had 4 points. It's everything else he does that makes him, in my eyes, either first out of the superstar conversation or he's in the conversation.
He's on NBA 13 for a reason. We laid this out already.
Right. And if that's not an indicator of where that is for people that actually watch the games, I don't know what else to tell you.
He's all NBA third team, and that's probably the perfect spot.
The same third team that Jalen Williams is on, to give you an idea. And I'm not going to go on the who's better between the two of them, but I just think that they're going to need more of Halliburton than they got, and they may not get it because of injury, which is the worst way to not have something, especially in the finals. That's really the only injury of note between these two teams. So it's nice to see healthy guys, healthy teams, going at it on the highest stage. But if he's compromised in any similar way to where he was last night, I think they're going to have that mountain just gets that much taller for them. I mean, they would need a Jalen Williams game from somebody. And the difference is, I don't know where they get it from. Okay, so you can name 3 or 4 guys. I'm like, maybe. I don't, short of someone like Nesmith hitting 8 threes again, I don't know where you get that from. And that might be lightning striking twice from them. 3 made threes from the bench, I would assume that increases. Whether it's because they shoot 63s with their life on the line, there is no tomorrow if you lose the game. The stat sheet does not have to be pretty. Oklahoma City was like 3 of 20 from 3 in the last game and won. So it just goes to show in the finals, no one cares about your slash line. If you win or lose, that's going to be in the history books first. Not that, for Chet, 4 of 15 shooting. If you're Oklahoma City, you've got to feel good about a double-digit win with that. 1, that he took 15 shots, and 2, that he scored 9 points on 15 shots. And you still won the game relative to this series comfortably, because there's been a lot of uncomfortable fourth quarters in this series, and they've dropped 2 of the games because of it. But if you're Indy, Rick Carlisle's going to have something just disgusting drawn up. And they're going to have to knock Shea off his game. They're going to have to try to cool off Jalen Williams. I don't think the change in venue is going to affect either one of them. They've won a game in this series in that building. Many people didn't think that would be a necessity, but after game 1, they had to do it to get home court back, and it took a couple games to do it. They finally got back-to-back wins in this series, and all playoffs, the Thunder have not dropped back-to-back games. And that is what the Pacers have got to do to win a title. They are out of losses, essentially, if they want to get this thing done. They've got to win in game 6 at home, where they've split 2 games, and then they've got to go to Oklahoma City and win a game 7. I don't know that we get a game 7. I mean, we won't have to do the first take prediction thing of who has to step up or whatever. But
no, but where I typically lean on desperation, like how I typically lean on desperation. If you've reached desperation, you're probably not winning it, barring your 2004 Red Sox type of things. Like you like desperation doesn't equal championship most of the time. This Indiana team, something's different, and we've clearly established
nobody's killed them yet. So
they're right. They're here. It's game 6, not game 4.
Right.
And their best player is a pass-first point guard who, quite frankly, is doing things that is the 3rd best ever since 2000. We've established that, like doing these magical buzzer beaters and things in the clutch moments. And so, look, I'm with you. I'm not sure there's a game 7, but I'm not sure that this isn't they're on the doorstep with 3 minutes left, because healthy or not, Tyler Halliburton, desperation normally for most teams is typically a bad boat, but they kind of thrive in it at this point.
Right.
I mean, granted, they didn't need. There's a couple moments throughout their run where they weren't really in a desperate situation because they were at that point moving and rolling. And so I just don't. There's no history line that I can point to with them. That's part of the hesitation with. Well, I agree. I don't think we're getting Game 7, but I've said that before. I also said that they were going to get swept. So here we are, and we're probably going to do 7 of these. I cut you off. Anything else about this kind of Indiana thing before we do about 10 minutes on Shea? Because I definitely think it needs to be done.
No, it's a messy, ugly path. But I mean, if you're the Pacers, they feel like they almost prefer that at this point. So we'll see what desperation brings Thursday night, and whether we're signing off on the season or we're gearing up for a Game 7.
So, as you know, Shea 31, let me back up. 38 in Game 1, 34 in Game 2, 24 in Game 3. That was the game that Indiana won. I was trying to get out earlier. 35 in Game 4 and 31, which was overshadowed by the fact that he had 10 assists as well most of this series. He had 4 blocks. Let's just go ahead and you alluded to a couple of those key ones there. He had a stretch where I think he had 2 of them on back-to-back possessions. And obviously 3 turnovers when you have the ball that much, whatever. I get whatever. Just, call it what you want. 2 steals, 4 blocks. That is a ridiculous stat line. You and I have talked ad nauseum about how we think he's an all defensive player. I actually don't know where he ended up voting for that. I think it was second team. If not at all, then ridiculous. But he's minus the 24, right? Average still puts you above 30. So he has done something that only 7 other people have ever done in the history of the league. Average 30 in a finals. He's not. He has to average I'd have to do the math. I'm not doing it right now. It's too late. We're already live. He would have to average he would have to have 10 in the closeout, or 10 over the next 2 or whatever to be below 30. I'm sure it's not exactly that close, but he's not falling out of that 30 average. Is my point. I want to lead the conversation with some trivia, age-old trivia here. Name the other 7 guys that have averaged 30 in the finals. The minimum qualifier, by the way, technically is 5 games because Shea's done it in 5 games. But I just did 30 ever, and 8 people popped up. Let's go. Roll through them.
Kobe, LeBron, feel like 2 strong big guesses.
LeBron, yes. Okay, sorry. Kobe and LeBron, no. Sorry.
Wow, even the Heat teams. All right.
I think appearances killed them.
Oh, I see.
Strictly appearances. They had to have appeared enough times that I'd have to look at their average, but it can't be far off. I'll look it up while you're going through it.
Let's see. I don't think Giannis did it as good as he was in that Milwaukee Suns finals.
Giannis did do it. 35.2, 6 games.
God, he's incredible in that series.
That is 3rd all time, if that helps you. 3rd all time.
Jordan, surely, at least once.
Yep. He's behind Giannis, 33.6, but he did 35 games in the finals. So there's your barometer why LeBron probably didn't do it. So 33.6 for Mike, 35 games. Giannis, 35.2 in 6 games. You got 2 so far.
Dirk pulled off in either of his 2?
No, he did not.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have a list beyond these guys because it didn't pull it up.
No, that's fair. Yeah. Let's see. Wilt?
No. Probably not enough appearances in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, didn't make it much.
Let's see. Magic Johnson. Not a score first guy, but
No Magic. You're on the right train with Magic and Wilt.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just my history here. I think those Spurs teams are a little bit too spread talent-wise to have somebody emerge like that.
Regardless of the fact that I can see the answers, I wouldn't even go that direction.
20, sure, but 30's a high bar for a reason. Bird?
I thought Bird as well. No, but you're getting close with Bird, and that there's a guy that's been compared to him before.
The logo wouldn't quite get there. Jerry West?
Would he? I don't know. Jerry West. And here's the awesome thing. He snuck in, right?
Yeah.
They snuck in 30.5. Would you like to guess how many games in the finals he's played and why he's incredible?
It's got to be upwards of 20, 30 games somewhere in
55.
There. Good Lord.
30.5 and 55. And the fact that he's in here, good. His legacy deserves
insane.
it. He needs
the
to be
0.5, Give him 31 at that point.
55 times.
That's absurd.
And he averaged 30.5. So, yes. And the fact that he has 1 title because of that is just ludicrous. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, you got Mike, you got Giannis. There's two really modern guys. I say really modern. I'm not exaggerating.
Steph Curry, surely.
No Steph. No
Wow.
Steph. I can remember a couple stinkers specifically that probably put him out of this.
Yeah, that's just why
You've got one really old guy, not far off from when that Walton team we talked about earlier. You have one guy not far off from that. You have one mid-2000s guy, and you have two really modern guys. I say really modern, like you'll get one.
Durant, one of the really modern guys.
30.3. Yeah. 15
I'll tell you
games.
what finals it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. 15 games, 30.3.
Let's see. Anybody more recent than Durant? Like how modern are we talking?
Oh, yeah. Like we may or may not have done a podcast since this guy did this.
Jokic,
last guy to sneak in 30.2, 5 games.
He's almost an auto guess at this point for these because even in one appearance,
even for 30, but you don't think him at 30, but he absolutely just dominated that
smoked
game.
them. So I got what 6 out of 7 now.
Yep, you're missing probably the two hardest guys. I would say
mid 2000s. I just default to Pistons in 04, but I don't think anybody.
You're not far off. Not far off. Not the Pistons part, but the year.
Right.
You're not far off at all.
Thinking anybody
in my old office, the hint would have been over my shoulder.
Was it Shaq?
No, you would think somehow he didn't have it. I can't believe he didn't have 30. but think how many games he was. Again, you play a lot of games. Your average is dropping.
It's almost a penalty. Yeah.
Except for Jerry, clearly.
Right. At 55 games, he's got it. That's ridiculous.
It's him and Mike, and that's like 55-35. Like that's the only like ludicrous number. Everybody else has played 10 and 5. Except
that's just absurd. Let's see. Is it a Celtic?
No.
Trying to cross off years here. So not 08, not 2010.
Think guys that carried them places.
Allen Iverson?
Allen Iverson's number 2.
Okay.
35.6 in 5 games.
Good Lord.
The last one I'm going to help you. It's 70s as well. It's a franchise that there's a guy on that list you already named who also played for this franchise as well. He's part of a family, an NBA family. He's famous for a very specific shot. I've essentially just guided the answer on a runway at this way, and it's really hard still. He averages the most.
I think Jordan.
36.3 for this guy, 10 finals games.
Oh my goodness. So he played.
Got the most all time. Played in the 70s, has an NBA family, and has a very unique, distinct shot known in NBA history. That is literally this guy's resume. I feel
like the shot should give it away.
It should. It once you hear family and shot click in a second, you're going to be really mad at yourself. I know the 70s is not everyone's NBA forte, and I don't expect it to be yours. He won Finals MVP in 75, and he's the only guy on this list to not have an MVP award.
Rick Barry.
Rick Barry?
Thrown out now. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah,
I was like, you said the family thing. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that narrows it down. It really does. Because this guys that are this elite, but also have NBA like sons and uncles. And
right. I knew of the shot. I need to refresh my memory, obviously, on that. But
underhand free throw, which the Wofford guy did this year. Yeah, it was not the greatest hint I've ever given you, but it's kind of in every basketball book ever. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've ever showed you. I've got one recently. I don't know. The Athletic did their top 100 in the book, and it's literally encyclopedia. Can't wait this summer to read that. But literally, Rick Barry, I think within 30 words are going to mention the underhand free throw. Like they have to. Like it's just synonymous now. So
it's page 1 type stuff. Yeah.
All right. The reason I brought it up, I was actually going to go through and like just tell you and lay out like X, Y, and Z, whatever. I really will say this though, a couple things. I understand 5 games, but that is clearly the floor, right? Jokic, him, Giannis had 6, AI had 5. What Shea is doing, every player on this list, except for Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic, let's just say every player on this list has won an MVP and is a Hall of Famer, except for Rick Barry. He's not an MVP, but is a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. It's an open-ended, let's have the conversation, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you if it was good podcaster in me, I would have prepped you for, all right, let's give me a number where he is right now, where he could be, et cetera. I'm not doing that to you, but he is in like legit rarefied air. because people can throw it's just the finals and 30 points a game. Whatever. People are going to discredit it in some way, I'm sure.
The goalposts are going to keep moving for him.
There is 7 other people that have ever done anything, and all of them except for one are NBA MVPs and Hall of Famers. I don't have a question. It's just this is a real conversation that needs to be had of like, if he doesn't make another finals, he's still in really rarefied air. But age, skill, MVP reigning here,
team makeup,
they're
not going anywhere.
He's probably going to be not the only guy on this list with more than 5.
I mean, I hesitate to say they'll be right back here next year because we found out a decade plus ago that that's not guaranteed. I don't see it.
That was part of the conversation I wanted to have. We've kind of.
I don't see a Harden trade part 2 happening, but
no.
The West being the West, I will say it's not a guarantee, and also cap things do happen, especially in markets like Oklahoma City. But I think that with the team secured today through the next 50 years in OKC, 2 years of legwork from the mayor and the Thunder on that. So take notes, upper top left corner of the country. I think that the literal team has staying power. This roster, this organization has staying power. And I'm not going to jump ahead because they're still 4 quarters away. But what that would put Shea in air-wise with what he's done, if they can finish off this finals, you could almost put your pen down, but something tells me that this team, and specifically Shea, has got more accolades both personally and as a team to rack up here. And I don't think that this is a flash in the pan, one and done. Teams like, so far, the Bucks, the Nuggets, individually elite players, top 5 players in the world, signed, sealed, delivered, win the title, and then they can't quite get back there again. And that's not to say that we won't see the Bucks or the Nuggets again, ever, especially while Giannis and Jokic play out their primes there. Honestly, Bucks next year coming out of the East, I don't hate it sitting here in June. We'll see if they can potentially send Kyle Kuzma somewhere else. But I think
Dame's probably not playing next year. That's the issue that you run into.
Right, but if you make the playoffs and he can come back.
I'm with you on that part.
You can start to have the conversation, but we're so far ahead on that. I just think when you see guys like Giannis and Jokic get to the top of the mountain, look down and think, this is really nice up here. And then that very next year, they're already starting that climb back up and they don't get to that same spot. It's incredibly difficult to do. It's hard to repeat. Almost never happens when you zoom out on NBA history and the history of the finals. So to say this is the first of, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, as LeBron found out, it is a lot harder to do. And even splitting the 4 he appeared in Miami was seen as an accomplishment, except for to the delusional Jordan people. But because you run into teams that historically we looked at as the best teams to ever do it because of where they get. There is no easy finals wins. The Celtics in 5, the Nuggets in 5. That was not 2 weeks of is it 10 points or 15 points? They lost games in that series. They were games in limbo. We haven't seen a team, rolled much ever in history. You can look at the last 2 sweeps and how that played out, but we still had, overtime in game 1 of the most recent one. And just LeBron James willing a dozen other guys to play on a final stage, and it wasn't enough. So I think, lots more to be said for Shea, this Thunder team. But, they're not done this year. They've got to win another game. And like I said earlier, no one has killed this Pacers team. They've put them on the brink. They've been up 7 with 40 seconds left. They've been up 9 with 2 minutes left. They don't go away. They're not going to stop. Led by TJ McConnell. He's kind of the catalyst with that. You line up the players on the baseline. He's not the guy you think is going to come back to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat and inspire an entire roster of players, frankly, better than him to give that extra 5-10% and to make that fourth quarter push and to steal games. They've done it all season. They've done it all playoffs. They've done it at least once. I don't view game 3 as a steal. They earned that one. But game 1, they absolutely stole from Oklahoma City. It's the reason we're still looking forward on the schedule to a game because we don't have a tip time if they don't do that in game 1. The series is over. So, this Thunder's season has looked historic start to finish, but you've got to finish it with a title. Otherwise, you're on the list of should have beens, not did. And so for the Thunder and for Shea and for, J-Dub, Chet, everybody on through, Caruso trying to get a second title. The last one's the hardest for a reason. They've got 3/4 of the way there. No Thunder group has ever done it, but they've still got that last data point. So we'll see.
To even add to the Shea thing a little bit before we get out of here, to do it in 39.2 minutes, which, by the way, lowest of all these guys. So to do this and not be dead last in points and to be the fewest amount of minutes is insane. He's second if you don't count Jerry West. Unfortunately, I don't want to cherry pick. Like, you can't do threes because Rick Barry and Jerry West weren't allowed to do that. Jerry doesn't count towards blocks or steals either, which is stupid. He is second or tied for first with Giannis with 1.8 blocks in the finals. I think guys that have averaged 30, guys that have averaged 30, that's more than Durant, more than Jokic, more than Rick Barry, more than Jordan, more than Allen Iverson. If you just want to go to steals and say, okay, well, he's a guard, let's look at steals. Again, Jerry West probably averages 1 to 2 steals a game if we actually count him. He's probably like right there at the top. So not counting Jerry, Rick Barry had 3.5 steals per game in his 10 games in the finals, which is crazy.
That's going to stand for a while. Yeah.
2.4 for Shea. He's second all time. That's ahead of AI, Jordan, Giannis, Durant, Jokic in that order.
It's one of the best guard seasons of all time.
Bar none. That's, again,
bar none.
I don't have a point to all the idea was to just make sure it's abundantly clear, no matter what happens in the next 2 games, that, again, not winning the finals would cloud a lot of this. I get it. But
yeah,
the historian in me, you're going to look back, you're going to lay out 50 guys of the last 50 years, and he's going to be a lot closer to 1 than he is to 25. Just strictly on this season alone, not including the fact that he's been doing this for 3 more years before this. And again, the whole point of the exercise is probably for a while. I get that if they never make another finals again, like Durant and Westbrook didn't, doesn't matter. Those guys their legacy still progressed. In or outside,
still all Hall of Famers, still both MVPs.
Correct.
Harden as well, another MVP.
The main reason I wanted to lay it out is because I think it's truly not understood how amazing Shea's season is. And just truly what, I'm not ready to, again, that's why I didn't do it. I'm not ready to be all right, do you have him 58th or do you have him 49th? Where we doing that? I'm not doing that. But it truly is hey, we got to see multiple years of this. And I have pretty good faith here that I think that this is going to be some of the most elite guard play we've seen really since Jordan. It's just that simple, and people can call it hyperbole, but point guard, shooting guard, whatever he is, obviously he's a point guard, but that conversation for him is going to start getting more and more historically significant the more and more this continues to happen. He's one of my favorite players I've ever watched, and I found merchant baiting. I don't care about any of that. When you are that elite at something, we talked about drives. You and I have done that rant 1,000 times. This guy averages this many drives, he averages 15 more than him. And
you don't know about drives if you don't watch games and get on Twitter and say, 12 free throws, guy sucks.
Correct.
It's the worst part of basketball right now is thankfully the most removable, because if you just don't check Twitter, those people with those small voices and faceless profiles.
Well, they got also on some of the biggest networks in the world, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. You can be as productive for $10 million as you can for $0, apparently. So, I, unlike Stephen A., am not glad that Halliburton is hurt. So, has not been ruled out yet. I feel like I would have gotten a text about that if he had while we were on air. So, last update was MRI scheduled, and when you're Tyrese Halliburton, you're not going to wait long for an MRI. So, whether we get a clear update beyond that, I doubt it. If I'm Indy, I'm not releasing it. Find us what you want. It's the NBA Finals or season's on the line. Nothing post-COVID injury news related has yet to deter teams from doing this.
Yeah.
So it's not going to start now, which I would expect the same from Oklahoma City, where roles reversed. And, one of the Chet body blows had put him on the brink of missing a game. I expect nothing less. So, we're guaranteed one more game. I hope that's the last game of the season, selfishly. But I'm expecting a hell of a game come Thursday night.
Looking forward to it. Thursday night should be really good. Obviously, we'll get on here Friday, probably afternoon, get that knocked out. really, I mean, we're either talking about a championship and capping off one of the greatest team and individual seasons like we just laid out ever, or we're talking about Game 7 where that can still be true, and you'll have the opportunity to do it at home. Obviously, I think I know your answer. Probably, leaning towards a Game 6. Yeah, probably leaning towards 6 here.
Please God, 6.
55 minutes in, down, done. Been really fun. No matter how many games we have left, really enjoy it. Appreciate your time as always. I don't know. I'm hands up at this point with what I think happens left. I hope we just get an absolutely incredible Game 6, because if you don't get 7, right, we talked about before, 7 games is pretty rare, especially in the finals. And I would at least hope for like hey, we're playing this one on the NBA Classic channel in 15 years. Like I just want an awesome game. And obviously I don't care who wins, but for your sake, hopefully something goes well here in the next 48 hours. On behalf of Grayson, the 1009 podcast, this has been the 2 Pointers podcast. I'm Trevor Everett. We will see you soon with maybe an NBA champion.